my name's Kate Rodgers. I run a company which is a jewellery wholesaler, and our company is called Rodgers & Rodgers. If you're not aware of us, we manufacture and produce silver and gold vermeil jewellery, and we wholesale it into 21 countries. Our biggest market is Europe, and our company was founded in 2010. That's the official line. Behind that line, this is actually what happened to us. I began this company in 2010 at a table in my kitchen with my mother as a business partner. Before that, I was a fashion photographer and eventually then a creative director. And I worked for Net-a-Porter, Burberry, Vivienne Westwood, and Vogue. That led me back to Derbyshire with my mother, and if you mix in a mother-daughter dynamic into starting a business, you get the real picture, which is not very pretty. But we did start with £5,000, and we started very, very small. And today, we've grown the company into having a £2 million turnover, and of course, a presence in the wholesale market here. We've made so many mistakes along the way, and we've implemented systems so late in the day that sometimes I can't believe we've survived. So I hope that what I have to say to you today would help you in not making the same mistakes as us, and also give you an idea of how an organic company that's moving slowly has managed to still implement systems, still survive, and still move forward, even though it might not be at the pace that a company could with large investment or with a lot of knowledge behind it. When I started, as you know, I was no experience in production, no experience in jewellery. Reading between the lines, you probably can see that I had zero experience in finance management, zero experience of managing other people, and zero experience of cash flow. Which means that I've had to rely on one of the most important things in the business, which is the other people that have worked with me. Any system that you implement is only ever going to be as good as the people that run it with you and the people that run it for you. And they're only ever going to be good to you if their values are actually decent. It doesn't matter how technically brilliant they are, because you have to trust them and your livelihood depends on them. So the first thing I would say in your setup is to identify what you can do and what everybody else in your team can do. And if the team is only you, you must realize what you need to outsource, which leads me to the second thing. The first thing, beyond the stuff like VAT, HMRC, which I'll come to in a minute, is to identify these are the things that need doing, how much time in the day you have, and of course, if you can't do it, who's going to do it and how much you're going to pay. When we started, we were lucky because we had a product that worked, and therefore our system was based on manufacturing something that was a unique offering, but more important than that, it came out for the right price, and the production and the price was stable. So once we knew that we could offer something in the market that we could say, this is the price and this is the offering for 1 year, we could then get it out and use that money to work on developing the rest. If you want to trade in the UK and trade abroad, you must then have the right tax code. So that's the first step, making sure that HMRC, your VAT, all of these things are done properly, and that you have a great accountant and that your diary has everything in place. Because my accountant has saved me from really bad potential errors. She's also made certain that I keep on top of cash flow on a weekly basis. So I know at the beginning and end of every week what money is coming in, what money I owe to people, and I can see 3 months ahead where I might get into trouble. And believe me, that has been so often, because the busier we've gotten, the more money we need for stock, and the more hours of the day we need. So to stay that sort of perceived one step ahead, one extra mile at the end of the day, the busier you get, the less energy you have, the more people you need, the less money you have to pay them. That's a real difficulty without an understanding of your cash flow, when the big wave of money is coming in and when you're going to run out of it. So regardless of anything else, that is the most important thing to understand in your system. Now, we've traded for 5 years, and in 3 of those years, we were writing manual Excel invoices. I can't even believe that we were, and we were counting stock manually, which is it's impossible to sit in front of you and talk to you about these things and feel credible when it took us 3 years to get a system in place that was integrated, like Sage. What this did for us, we have now 4,000 individual stock keeping units that we keep stock of. And of those, we know every day how many are in stock. In order to set this up, however, somebody had to sit and key all this information in. So again, it sounds ideal to tell you from the very beginning, get your stock system in place. I think it's one of the most important things, and I wish I could have done it again at the beginning, because 3 years in, with 4,000 products, having the time to serve my clients and to then get the system up and running, it was a nightmare to get this done. That said, it's revolutionized our business, because at the touch of a button, I know what's selling, I know what our best product is by revenue, I know what our best product is by volume, and I also know what's not selling. Then reading between the lines, and something that I rely on, is the data analysis that goes behind that. So I can see what stock I've bought that is not selling through, where money's being held that it needn't be held, so I can clear it. I can also see where I should have invested money and I haven't. So it tells me how to spend money more wisely in the future in my business. So if I was setting up all over again, the first thing I would do would be get my electronic system sorted and have my stock codes, my stock item, a photograph, a description, and the count of that stock in my Sage system. It's embarrassing that there's still products in my shelf now that I don't have 3 of those things for. And I say, oh yes, of course, John Lewis, of course we'll make this in a bespoke colour. Oh, of course we'll do it slightly bigger. Oh, of course we'll do it slightly smaller. If I don't then make that phone call and book that into my system, my whole system falls apart. So that's where you save yourself a lot of energy on those things. The other thing about systems in the company, again, heavily come back to the people in your company. So identifying how you can grow a business, even if it's just you, even if it's with somebody else, with the skill set that you've got and the value that those people bring, no matter what happens with that, you've only got a certain amount of money. So how do you develop your business with what you've already got, and how you decide how to grow the business? When we decided to recruit, we always had to look 4 months ahead, and that's when my bank manager became my best friend. I consulted my bank manager on every major decision to do with spending. I was honest with them. I also bought them a bottle of wine at Christmas sometimes, but they always helped me understand where and when I could afford things. And very frustratingly, there have been times when I haven't been able to afford things that I really, really want. Case in point, we've only just employed a web developer. I should have had a website that was fully functional, that was being serviced as well as my wholesale business from the very moment I started. But again, this is another thing that you can learn from, because when we started, we hadn't got a very clear projected business plan. I couldn't have told you in one sentence what my company did. I happened to become good at developing a product, and I happened to become a jewellery wholesaler. Had I have had more presence of mind at that time, I would have said, I want to be not a jewellery wholesaler, I want to be a brand. I want that brand to have presence in this market. I want to sell for this price. Once you have identified all of those things, then you can set your system up to back that up. I actually personally set no system up, and just luckily had a few customers that allowed my cash flow to grow, and realized that we can have a brand here. But if I'd have identified all of that from the start, perhaps I would have had a successful e-commerce business running parallel to my jewellery business by now, and a system to underpin that. On the other hand, what we have built the business on, and what I'd like to talk more about today, is the relationships that we have and how we have actually built the business on that. The cash that comes into our company and the money all comes from customers. Customers are the center of everything, and the first person I did recruit was a customer service person. Everything that we do revolves around our customers. every little thing. And no matter how critical they can be, sometimes that's the best thing that can ever happen to us, is having some criticism from our customers, not getting things right, listening, evolving, taking stock of what they've said. And more important than anything else, the profile, maybe the product is just as important, but the customer service is the most important thing in your system that you can do for your company. If you have a payment system in place where you offer customers credit, say you make some people pay up front, say that you offer some people 30 days, depending on who the customer is, you must be aware of the impact that's going to have on your business. So you need to have a planned system for that. And what I mean by that is a cash flow of some description on a spreadsheet where you say, this is what I need to spend to service that customer. This is when the money will be coming back. So you can understand if you can offer credit. It's very easy to get excited and say yes to giving a very big client 90 days credit. But the reality is, most people can't afford to do that. And certainly in my case as a small company, I made the mistake of offering credit so many times and not being able to afford it. So please be aware of, just don't say yes. These are all human beings. No matter how big companies they are, you can negotiate with them. And on the other side of that, please negotiate terms with all your suppliers. Negotiate 30 days. Negotiate 15 days if they won't give you that. Do anything you can to keep the money in your bank account while you're developing and growing a business. It's not all about money. It's about a lot of other things. But money is just like fuel in your petrol tank in your car. You go on a journey not to do a tour of petrol stations, but you still need fuel in the tank in order to do what you want to do and in order to service your customers. So please keep hold of that. The biggest time I've gotten burned with money is when I started servicing clients abroad. I got very excited. I think one time it might have even been from Pure. When we first started, we got this huge order from an overseas client, and we were thrilled about it. We made the jewelry at that time bespoke. We phoned them up. We said, we're ready to deliver. And they said to me, great, send the jewelry. I said, that's wonderful. Please, can you pay the invoice? They said, we pay the invoice when the jewelry arrives. So it went on like this for about a week or two, and I thought, I can smell such a big rat here. I'm going to send them this jewelry. They're never going to send me the money. So don't be afraid to be very clear and very firm. If you don't have an existing relationship, you don't send out your goods to an overseas client. Be aware of your legal rights. In most countries that are outside of the UK, you potentially don't have them. You don't have a way of getting the goods back. Even within the UK, there are certain circumstances whereby if somebody sends you the stock back, you can't demand that they pay the invoice. So as you're setting up your company and you're developing it, start to understand, whether your product has any value to you if you take it back. In our case, it's silver. We can't lose money completely because silver has a value. If you've made them a special thing in a special size, etc., there's no way that that can ever be of value to you. So understand your terms with them. And the second thing you can do is you can check up on them. You can ask your other competitors, your friends in the industry. You can even get advice from the UKTI on how to protect yourself from this. All along the way, we've had an advisor from the UKTI who's come into our business, told us where we can get grants to develop opportunities abroad, told us where we can get support. We've had individual counselling, and those things have really helped us get the confidence to go back into that market that really burned us. We spent, so much time and energy and love on all of this, and we have now successfully grown relationships with companies. And some of the time, those relationships have started by us saying no. No, sorry, we can't give you terms. No, sorry, we're not going to make this bespoke. No, sorry, we're not going to deliver this in 10 days. And if they really want you and they really value you, it's a dialogue. And if you're honest with them and you don't overpromise things to them, then that can really work. Plus, you'll find that there's a lot of great a broad account. There's a lot of people out there who have the same values as you, that want to work with you, that understand and love your product for what it is, that aren't interested in going into the mass market and ripping you off, which is a big concern when you have a very individual product, that somebody can come over from Shanghai or America or wherever, buy it once and replicate it. Don't be afraid of that. Trust what you do and trust that your system and your customer service and everything else that you do prohibits them from copying you entirely, because they might be able to make it once, but they don't know what's in your head for next season. They also don't have your customer service or your great electronic system, or in my case, no electronic system until 3 years' time, when we nearly folded as a company because we had really so little energy to throw at writing manual invoices. But all of these things that you now get right will help you to stay that one step ahead, that extra mile further ahead of everybody else. And if your personality shows through in the international market, you've got something good that they want to buy that's consistent and that you can, more importantly, deliver on time, as long as you make sure that your payment system is okay and you've investigated your relationship with that person and you don't allow them to get into, let's say, a huge amount of credit with you. It's much better that they order small and often, for example, if you're small, or that you get a deposit if you don't know them. All of these things help you to investigate that relationship. It's symbiotic after all, and you don't need to be afraid of any of those things. They're all wonderful opportunities if you get them right. So I don't know what else I'm covering. It's a broad investment, relationships, I think. And I guess the only thing I can say on relationships is that the ones that you have, for me anyway, are more important than the ones that you can potentially get, because those are the people that are going to give you honest feedback. Those are the people who are going to repeat their orders and do repeat business with you. And also those are the people who are going to tell other people about you. There is something to be said, however, for getting your system right, for maximizing your exposure when somebody does say something good about you. Now, that might be your Facebook, your Twitter, your website, your Instagram. Get all those people that you do know to contribute to your system. It's less energy for you. You know, get them, tell them, okay, we're going to cross-populate our social platform with yours. You know, well done if you've already done it, because we're only just getting that organized. But this is a great way to sustain your position in the market. It's a great way to find new people, even if it's people that you aren't selling to. It might be people that you might work with in the future. It's also a great way for you to sort of, you know, get out there in the market, but understand what people like about your product too. So those existing relationships can do so much mileage for you, and they're such an important part of developing a business. I always think that one existing customer is worth 10 new customers, and that's kind of the bottom line for us. And I think the last thing I will leave you with on this is that however good your systems are, however good your business is, the tides can always turn. When I step back from my business and everything that we do production in India, we do production in the UK, we do customer services here, and we deliver our product on time and it's in stock to our clients. Behind all of that, if, let's say, the economy in the countries that supply us changed, we would have a problem. If we weren't allowed to fly as frequently as we do now because of some kind of environmental change, we would have a problem. So think about where the potential problems could be for you, not just now, but in the future. And if something that you need doesn't exist yet, get the closest to it. If you think you might come across something in 2 years' time that's going to be a barrier, start thinking about this now. In my case, I know that I'm going to potentially have a problem. It's a very simple one, nothing to do with this, integrating my stock system when I go into e-commerce. So do I have 2 stock holdings? Do I have 2 different teams of people running this? Do I have 2 different customer services? I'm thinking about that now for something that's going to happen in 6 months' time because I know I'm going to have these problems. So that's how you stay one step ahead. And the only other thing that you can do is to have a team of people around you who you would want to be with if you did fail, because everybody is your friend when you're successful. But those people that you want to be with, even in the event of failure, they're your team. And you can't be afraid of that if you're going to step out there and grow your business. I'm speaking to you from a very insecure position. We're 5 years old. We don't know everything. We've got a lot of things to learn, but this is my experience so far. Thanks for listening.